You ever feel like you're the only one in your life who actually sees something bigger? Like you try to tell other people about it, but they don't really get it yet. They either make you feel like you are doing too much or you are either chasing something that's not realistic. And slowly, what this does to you is after a while, you just stop talking about it altogether. So you feel like you're suppressing your real self. But it's not that you stop believing in the thing, it's that you get tired of explaining your vision to other people who cannot necessarily see it yet. So today we're breaking down the part of building something that nobody really talks about, which is the isolation phase that you're going to have to go through, the disconnect from a lot of people and the environments that you are currently in right now, and why it actually gets more hard the closer that you get towards pursuing or accomplishing your goal. And this isn't just, pertaining to business. This is pertaining to becoming someone that your environment doesn't necessarily understand yet. There's three phases that every single person always goes through. And the first phase is outgrowing your environment, because the outgrowing your environment part is simply saying you just don't think the same that you used to. The people that you surround yourself with, is not that you don't care about them, but what they care about is not necessarily the things that you care about anymore. So some of the conversations don't necessarily hit the same. Some of the experiences or how you guys are spending your time doesn't necessarily fit the same, because deep down inside, you have a different vision or a different version of you that is trying to become alive. And in order for it to become alive, you have to let go of your old identity. But one of the hardest parts of letting go of your old identity is letting go of the people in the environment that identity was surrounded by, because you start realizing that you're growing in a direction that they may not necessarily be growing in. And it doesn't necessarily make you different or better than those people, but it does mean that you need some type of isolation in order for you to be able to become the version of yourself that you're pursuing. Because one of the hardest parts about actually going in life is being in a place where you know that you desire more, you know that you can become more, you know that you can do more, but it feels like you're stuck. Not because you don't have the capability or the ability to change, but because you feel like you can't change because of the people and the environment that you surround yourself with. I know for me specifically, having friends that I have known 20 plus years, I love all of them individually. Like I would take a bullet for them. There's a lot of people that I have in my circle and I have a lot of support. But at the same time, it was very hard for me to outgrow those people and outgrow that environment. And it's not necessarily saying that I changed up on those people, but I had a different perspective for what I wanted my life to look like. And as we got older, everybody started to pursue what they wanted in life. But I was one of the only people that wanted to pursue entrepreneurship. I wanted to pursue a path that wasn't necessarily promised. I wanted to go out here and pretty much take a leap of faith. And I had dreams that were without any type of limitations. And I remember when I started speaking about how I view life, I started to be, or it felt like I was being treated differently. I could feel the energy and how people looked at me. And my confidence came off as arrogance to a lot of people, because they didn't necessarily understand that, hey, man, I see a vision and I feel like it's possible. And I feel like all of us should be able to live this life. Like, I feel like this is the life that all of us should live. But being young and naive, what I had to go through and learn in life was that everybody has their own calling and everybody is going to pursue something different in life. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to cut those people off completely or you have to just completely outgrow those people. It just means that you have to put yourself in a different arena to surround yourself with more people that actually fit the person that you're trying to become. Because the hardest part about outgrowing your environment isn't the fact that you are changing. It's the fact that you have to leave something behind that doesn't necessarily fit you anymore. So in those early days when I said, hey, man, I want to go and I want to pursue entrepreneurship. I want to do something and I want to be able to have a life without any type of limits. I want to be able to, it's not even about the money for me. It's about being able to make so much impact in life that I can live life on my own terms. Like in return for me going out here and providing value to other people and impacting other people's lives, I know that God is going to grant me the freedom to be able to do whatever it is that I want to on my own terms without having any type of limitations, without having any time restrictions or saying that I have to go and do this at this time because somebody else told me that I had to take off this. Like, that's just my perspective. That's how I looked at things. But when you start to look at things differently, you start to outgrow your environment because you realize that you are moving in a different direction. And that direction that you're trying to move in is going to require you to disconnect from the old people that you once surrounded yourself with in order for you to find new people that's going to actually fit the person that you want to become. I know we've all heard that you are like the 5 people that you surround yourself with the most. So if you surround yourself with people, it's not even about being broke or rich. It's more so about you need to surround yourself with people that align with what it is that you want. Because what happens when you align yourself with people that want the same things that you desire, you start to learn how to get there a lot faster. When you surround yourself with people that don't necessarily fit the environment or the person, I should say, that you're trying to become, what it does is it's like you have to, in a way, suppress who it is that you actually are. You have to be silent when you're around them because when you talk about your goals, it might either make them uncomfortable or if they don't understand it, they're going to put their limitations for what they can see on your particular dream. So the reason why you have to surround yourself with people that are living the life that you actually desire is because this is going to not suppress who it is that you are, but it's going to push you to the heights that you need to reach in order for you to become the person that you're trying to be. A lot of times we surround ourselves or we stay in environments way too long with people that just cannot, like, they don't believe in anything for themselves. So not only do they put their limitations on you, but they make it uncomfortable for you to be around them because they feel like, oh, this person's trying to be different or he's trying to do this. And they kind of just laugh at you when you say that you want to pursue something that does not necessarily align with their vision. That's one of the hardest places to be in because it doesn't change the fact that you love and care for those people, but you also love and care for yourself. And if you never separate or disconnect yourself from the people that are not necessarily fitting your future self, you'll always stay who it is that you currently are. Once you outgrow your environment, you're going to go through a silence phase. And this silence phase is where a lot of people get stuck. This is where a lot of people fall into the traps of, depression or not being able to live with their own thoughts because you eventually have to be quiet. You have to stop sharing your ideas. You got to stop explaining your vision. And the moment that you start to move in silence, it's not necessarily because you want to do that. It's because you have to do that in order for you to be able to get to where you want to be. My mom and my sister used to always tell me when I was a teenager, they would always just say, just be more quiet, just be more silent. And I will always fight them because it was just like, people have to know that this is the vision that I have. People have to know who I am. Like, I can't suppress who I am anymore. I have to show who I actually am because this is who I am. I can't suppress the real me because if I suppress the real me, I'm just showing up as somebody that I'm not. And I'm going to be more miserable because I'm not showing up as myself. But it wasn't until time went by that I actually started to understand what being silent actually meant and what a silence phase actually meant. I was a person that felt like because I could see it, because I could feel like it could be done, I had to prove to other people around me that I could get it done. So what I did was I showed up and I was not necessarily boastful, but I was loud. I was very loud in how I approached things. I was a person that I would go out here and I would learn something. And then I would tell people that, hey, man, you need to be doing this. Like, I was a person that's like, this is not how life should be. Like, I don't know why we are struggling like this or why are we pursuing a life that doesn't necessarily give us a promising destination that we want to reach. Like, I just didn't understand it. I was a college student at the time. And it was just so hard for me to understand why people would want to spend 4 to 5 years of their life pursuing something that they didn't necessarily want just to go and try to build 25 years of their life doing something they didn't necessarily desire. So I spoke up about it. I was a person that was very vocal, and being very vocal, it only led me to the point of being in a place where eventually I had to stop talking because I was showing up and I was speaking about how I felt. but how I felt was coming off in a way that I didn't necessarily want it to. And I felt more misunderstood than I did understood. So in the silence phase, God kind of forced me to be silent. When I moved away from my hometown and I moved to a new city for the first time, I was in a place where I was around people that I actually wanted to be like. I was around people that was actually pursuing some of the things that I actually wanted. And it forced me to be quiet because I didn't know what I didn't know when I got there. Like the people that had the things that I wanted, I couldn't show up and be that person that felt like I knew everything. I had to start listening. I had to start paying attention. I had to start being quiet. And in my isolation phase and in my disconnection phase, in that silence phase, I started to learn the importance of being able to keep your vision to yourself and not necessarily explaining your vision to other people, because this is something that really took me a very long time to understand. But your vision is like an energy. What it is that you desire in life is like a form of energy. And you have two forms of energy. You either have positive or you have negative. So when you have a vision, you only see the positive side. But when you share your vision with other people, or you're always talking about what you feel like your vision should be, or you're trying to change the perspective of other people to pursue the things that you have in your heart, you're going to deal with more negativity than you do positivity. Not necessarily because, the world is just like, we're just bad people and nobody wants to see you to succeed, but because as humans, we're just naturally more negative than we are positive because of the way that we've been trained to think, how we've been conditioned to look at life. We are looked at like we live in a world where we are told to believe in something, or we're told to have faith in something that we cannot see. Oftentimes it may be religion or just believing in a higher power. But believing or having faith in something is believing in something that you can't necessarily see, or something that's not necessarily physical, but you know it is real. But when it comes to our dreams or it comes to our vision, we're stuck in a place where we feel like we have to be silent or we have to suppress this thing. And a lot of people add their negative beliefs or their limiting beliefs on the thing that you actually desire, not because they don't feel like you can do it, but because they don't see how it can be done. So because they don't see how it can be done, they focus on only what they can see, and they put their limitations on you. And eventually you start to believe those limitations. So you just stop pursuing what it is that you actually want. And you put yourself in this rut where everything is just like nothing is clicking for you, but it's because you're suppressing the real version of yourself. And although, it is good to be able to have faith in a particular thing, it's hard to believe in something that you cannot see. Also, when the people around you are telling you that it's never going to become real. So the silence phase that I had to go through, that everybody has to go through, is very hard because you isolate yourself, you disconnect yourself, and eventually you put yourself in an arena where it's like you feel like nobody's going to ever understand you. But this is the phase that is actually necessary for you to be able to listen to God and understand what he is actually trying to build up for you. Because God is always silent. He might show us things, he might show up in different ways, but oftentimes his messages come in reflection moments, or us looking back on times where it was like, I don't know how I got through this part of my life, but I'm happy that I stuck it through. And when you look back at it, you actually able to see the lesson that you were actually able to learn from going through that part in life. But a lot of us try to skip the silence phase because it's uncomfortable, or it's not something that is, it's not celebrated, it's lonely, it's a place where only you have to walk alone. So it's very difficult for you to continue to pursue a dream when you have to be silent and not share your vision or not share your ideas or what it is that you actually believe in. Now, what this does is it gives you an emotional weight. It starts to get lonely. In this silence phase, you start to question yourself. You start to question everything for that matter. Is this something that I should be doing? Am I ever going to get to where it is that I want to go? Should I just go and be an ordinary person because I'm trying to do something that's extraordinary and it's not regular right now? So if it's not regular, that means that it may not be for me. Like, the questions go on and on and on. And you wonder eventually in this silence phase if you're the one that chose the wrong path. In the moment that you chose that path, It felt right because it was heavy on your heart. But eventually, once you go down that line of having to suppress yourself, having to see your environments change, having to outgrow your particular environments, and you get to the place where you stop sharing things, eventually it's like you start to walk around and you don't explain or you don't let out anything. Like you just kind of walk around with this a lot on your mind, but not a lot to say out of your mouth. I went through this and I probably still am going through this for probably 6 to 7 years. And it was a weight that I put on myself. It was a weight that was put on me as well, because I knew that I had to be silent, but eventually my silence turned into me feeling like I wasn't using what my gifts were, because I was trying to save myself to be able to fit into environments so that other people could be comfortable. So eventually I became uncomfortable in those environments because I'm not able to be myself. I'm not able to show up as myself. And that emotional weight that you have to walk around with is extremely hard because you don't have a lot of people that are telling you what to do or what not to do. Those people, you stop listening to them because you stop talking to them. So now if you're in a position where you're isolated away from those people, it's not saying that you don't love and care for those people the same way, but you had to start keeping your visions to yourself and your ideas to yourself. But where those ideas go, they just stay on the inside unless you figure out a way to be able to elaborate on them. I know for me specifically, the reason that's the main reason why I started making YouTube videos. Not because I wanted to be a famous person or I wanted to become this person that everybody knew, but because I wanted to stop suppressing how it is that I felt. I wanted to start to be able to speak about how I feel and share my thoughts so that I can be able to surround myself with people that might think the same way that I do. So now I don't have to suppress who I actually am. I can show up and be the person that I was meant to be. And I can get rid of the emotional weight that I have to walk around with and the pressure that I put on myself because I feel like I'm just muting or suppressing what my actual potential is. And it was harder for me to continue to walk through life limiting my potential than it was for me to show up and show my flaws, show who it is that I was, show up imperfect, show up just doing it and just being myself, being my authentic self, regardless of how it may come off. I knew that it would be easier for me to be myself than to continue to be somebody else and never fulfilling what it is that I desired because of what other people actually thought of me. So the truth is this, you probably will go through this isolation phase. You're definitely going to go through a disconnect if you desire a life that is not currently the one that you're living. You're going to have to change who you are. You're going to have to change your identity. You're going to have to change your environment. You're going to have to change your associations. You're going to have to change your experiences that you actually go through. You're going to have to change the information that you're actually learning. But through all of these changes, it's important for you to realize that you're only in this phase because you are ahead mentally, like you desire something more mentally. But right now, your physical reality is just not surrounded by it yet. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you're never going to get there. It's saying that in order for you to get there, you have to let go of old in order for new to be able to come in. And letting go of old is letting go of the things that I just, mentioned. But you have to understand and realize that although you might be changing and you have to go through all of these identity shifts and all of this stuff in order for your new self to match the life that you want to desire, you're not alone in this process. You're just early. Early meaning that you're in your early phases of becoming new. So it feels different. It feels lonely. It feels like you're isolated. It feels like nobody understands you. It feels silent. But it only feels this way because you're in the early phases of becoming the person that you asked to be, the person that's living on the inside of you, the person that continues to give you this desire to change and do something more. You're early in that version of yourself and you're late, or I don't even want to say late. You're the person that you used to be. That time has ran out. So now it feels like you're in this position where you're alone and nobody understands you, but you're really in a path. You're in the beginning stages. You're in those first couple of phases where things are going to feel lonely. It's going to feel tough. It's going to feel like nobody understands you. but it's because you don't fully understand yourself yet. And you don't need to put the pressure on yourself for trying to understand a new version of yourself that you don't necessarily know yet. It's selfish of us to, you know, try to control who we're going to be or try to determine what we're going to look like tomorrow. We strip ourselves of the current moment to where we're not able to live who we are in the present. So the reason why it feels alone, the reason why you feel like you're the only person and nobody understands you is because you're trying to understand a new version of yourself that you haven't necessarily became yet. And the only thing for you, that only thing that's going to help you be able to get to that version is time. There's nothing else that's going to help you get there sooner. Only time is going to help you be able to get there. Also backed by you taking the action and maximizing your potential in the time that you currently have. So in closing for this particular video, you're not crazy for feeling this way. You're not alone, because I understand what it feels like to be in a position where you're isolated, where you feel like there's not anybody that actually understands you. But you just have to realize that you're just stepping into something that most people never attempt. So that's why you feel alone, because you're deciding to make a change in your life that you may not have been, or you may not have seen be made before. So because you are the first one that might be doing it the way that you're trying to do it, and you have a vision that nobody else can see, you're not crazy. You're just different. And it's okay to be different, because there's 7 billion people in the world and all of us are different. A lot of us might have similarities, but all of us have a uniqueness about us. And that uniqueness that is about you proves that you can live a life that nobody else can live, because you have your own identity. Because you have your own identity, you're in the early phases of becoming that version of yourself. So instead of feeling like you're alone, one thing that will help you make sure that you're not alone is surrounding yourself with people that want the things that you actually want. Put yourself in the environment to be surrounded by them so that you can not necessarily feel like your celebrations is you showing off, but your celebrations is celebrated, because the people around you know what it feels like to have to overcome a specific thing and what it feels like to be able to become a version of yourself that you may not be able to see yet. And how long it might take, that's up to the work and the attitude, the work effort that you have and the attitude that you have. So don't put the pressure on yourself of feeling like you have to get there tomorrow, or feeling like you got to change in a week or a month. Be patient with the process. Trust the process. Understand that everything that you're going through is simply a building stone or a stepping stone for you to become the version of yourself tomorrow. And the person that you were in the past is all lessons. It's all learning for you to be able to know what to do in the present moment. So that's going to go ahead and conclude this particular message. If you liked it, please subscribe and share with other people that it can also be able to impact. Because my goal is to be able to show people that we can live a life that's limitless, and we can be able to accomplish anything that we put our minds to. So I had a lot of fun in this video. If you did, let me know in the comments what you like best. And until the next time, peace.